cut throttle now. Full throttle now. It's this on X7M. Whoa! Full throttle now. Oh yeah, buddy, close my nose there.
Have you ever had someone glued to your stick so close that running away was no longer an option? You're desperately pulling the stick everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and it still feels like you're just one trigger pull away from dying. What you're seeing here is a deliberate evasive maneuver designed to deny the attacker's nose, force an overshoot, and instantly flip the fight by countering the bandit's flight path vector. With just a little bit of luck, of course. So stay with me, folks, because in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to do this step by step and how to turn a defensive nightmare into a firing solution. Welcome back, folks, I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm bringing you 3 practical examples of evasive maneuvers taken from my last Spitfire Mk IX video, so make sure to check that one out too. The goal of this video is to show you how I execute evasive maneuvers when escape is no longer possible, how to deny an enemy's gun solution, and how to force an overshoot that lets you transition from defensive to offensive. So let's take a closer look at the first engagement.
I don't like that at all.
So here I am patrolling over Dover with my Spitfire Mk IX, which is probably the best Merlin engine Spitfire ever made, when I suddenly see 2 aircraft in the distance that seem to be approaching pretty fast.
Why are they pointing at me? Jesus Christ.
Alright, so things escalated pretty quickly here. What initially looked like a distant contact turns into a sudden head-on approach. The bandit turned out to be a Focke-Wulf 190, so right after the merge I immediately take the fight into the vertical with a split S, hoping to force a one-circle situation where my Spitfire can leverage its powerful engine against a Focke-Wulf 190 that doesn't perform as well in sustained vertical maneuvering. At this point, the idea is pretty simple: gain positional advantage early and keep things under control before the fight fully develops.
Fuck is that? Focke-Wulf? Got a Focke-Wulf here. Probably that the other guy wants its wingman.
At this point, I'm pursuing the Focke-Wulf 190, but I stay alert because I know there's another aircraft nearby and it could very well be his wingman. This is where situational awareness matters the most. It's your first layer of defense long before you ever need to go evasive.
Don't fail me.
And that laser right there confirms that the other guy is definitely not an ally, and it's time for me to go fully evasive. This is a situation you never want to be in. A bandit right on your 6 already trying to line up a shot. But here is when you need to stay calm and watch carefully the bandit inputs. This is where the evasion game really begins. Here you can see him pitching down, so instead of falling randomly, I focus on staying out of his flight path vector by doing the opposite of what he's doing, so I pitch up while adding a slice spiral or a barrel roll. The idea is to move across the bandit's nose in 3 dimensions, circling around his nose, denying his gun solution and forcing him to constantly readjust his aim.
Yeah, this guy has a wingman indeed. Oh shit, that's a Japanese yam cookie.
But what are your actual options when you have a bandit sitting on your 6 like this? In theory, you could try to extend and run, but that only works if he's far enough and slower than you. You could brake hard into him in a flat turn, but that's risky if he already has good nose authority and closure. You might try some scissors, either flat or rolling scissors, but that requires enough separation, time, and a willing opponent. Vertical maneuvers can work too, but only if you have enough altitude and energy to play with. In this case, none of those options truly apply. The attacker is glued to my 6, he's flying a Japanese fighter with excellent turn performance and nose authority, and I simply don't have the distance needed to escape his gun range. That's why the only viable solution here is something called denying his nose. This means staying out of his flight path vector as much as you can and forcing an overshoot through geometry, not through speed.
Fuck is that? Alright, cat throttle, I'm gonna play ups and downs here. I need to force an overshoot here. Fuck is this on X7M? Whoa! Full throttle now. Oh yeah, buddy, close my nose there. Yes!
This is where denying the flight path vector really comes into play. The flight path vector is simply the direction the attacker's aircraft is actually moving through space, not where it is pointing, but where it's going. As long as I stayed inside that path, his guns will remain a threat to me. So instead of pulling away in one plane of motion or just randomly trying to evade, I focus on moving around his flight path vector and kind of orbiting around it or circling around it, combining pitch and roll to stay out of it. By adding some vertical movement and a slight spiral, I force him to constantly realign his nose, breaking his tracking and basically denying his firing solution, or also known as denying his nose. Think about it this way: as long as you stay directly in front of the attacker's path, his guns remain dangerous. Denying the flight path vector simply means refusing to stay where his aircraft is about to go. Instead of moving left or right in a flat line, you combine pitch and roll to slide out of that path, forcing him to constantly chase you with his nose. The moment he has to keep correcting his aim, his gun solution starts to fall apart. You're not trying to escape just yet, you're basically making yourself impossible to track. So, the goal of denying the flight path vector is to force a geometric overshoot. That means the attacker loses the ability to keep his nose aligned even if his speed is under control. By moving across his path in 3 dimensions, you break his tracking and make his aircraft cross in front of you. You're not winning by being faster, you are winning by breaking the geometry of the shot.
There. Yes. Oh, yes. Go to the bottom of the sea, buddy. See you in hell. Oh, shit.
And here's another quick example. The Focke-Wulf 190 is back and is positioned on my low 6. From here, he will probably try to pitch up and bring his nose onto me to line up a shot, so I will start orbiting around his flight path vector, staying out of his gun solution and letting the geometry work for me. As he loses the ability to track, the roles will hopefully reverse and I will end up sliding onto his 6. As you can see, it usually takes just a couple of seconds. Once the overshoot happens, all that's left to do is transition to the offensive, give chase and set up a clean firing solution.
Got throttle now. Jesus Christ, German engineering at its finest. Whoa! Oh shit! Oh crap!
Alright, let's now watch a quick example of another evasive maneuver. This Focke-Wulf 190 is approaching from a 6 at a distance, and instead of reacting early, I will wait for the closure to build before breaking hard into the attacker. Remember, closure means how fast the distance between you and the attacker is changing, not how close he already is.
For it, full throttle now. Avoid the guns there. Whoa!
This is a classic break into the attacker. As the closure peaks, I pull hard toward the bandit, forcing him to overshoot laterally before he can settle his guns. This maneuver works best when the attacker is still at some distance and he is coming in fast. Once he is already glued to your 6, it's usually too late for this to work, like we saw in the first example. From here, the roles are already reversed once again, and all that's left to do is stay offensive, give chase, and set up a clean firing solution.
Oh, yeah, it's a 109 over there. Easy, Merlin. Easy, buddy. Easy there. Oh, there he is. Yes, come on.
Alright folks, let's look at one final example. In this clip, I'm chasing a Japanese Ki-84 that's attacking a friendly aircraft, and I'm trying to desperately save him. In doing so, I become pretty target fixated, as you can see here, and fail to properly check my surroundings. A Focke-Wulf 190 has been following me for some time, and I don't realize it until it's almost too late. And that's a good reminder of why checking your 6 consistently is so critical, guys.
Easy. Ah, crap. Oh shit.
There's the Focke-Wulf, and once again I'm going to deny his flight path vector. He pitches down here for some reason, maybe he's trying to extend away, so I will do the opposite, pitching up and orbiting around him to get on his 6. This breaks his tracking and destroys the geometry of the engagement.
Alright, full throttle now. Let's dance with a German piece of engineering now.
Alright folks, we've reached the end of the video and I hope this has been helpful for you all. Remember, evasive maneuvers aren't about panicking or random movement, they are about understanding geometry, managing closure, and denying the attacker a clean gun solution. Whether it is breaking into the bandit or orbiting around his flight path vector, the goal is always the same: survive first, force the overshoot, and then take control of the fight. Alright folks, thanks for watching, I'm Brady Fox, see you in the skies.